The first way to unmask a covert narcissist is to listen to his or her words and watch their actions and see if those two are a fit. Do they match? Does one support the other? Now, when we talk about covert narcissists, we're talking about people who are pretending not to be narcissists. They're wearing this mask of empathy. And it's not just a mask, I like to call it a costume. Like somebody is dressing up for a gala occasion, or maybe to go trick-or-treating, whatever. But they are an actor, and they are in the actor's clothes, and they've got on the actor's makeup, and they've got on the actor's wig, not literally, but metaphorically speaking, they are pretending to be somebody they are not, and that's somebody. They are pretending to be someone who is empathetic. Now, to be successful, they got to be good at this. And you got to keep in mind that if it's a true narcissist, this person has been a narcissist since day one. So if you are dealing with somebody who's 30 years old, they got 30 years of practice. They're refining this, getting it down perfect. But they don't have it perfect. And there are these signs, these flaws that you can see through their makeup. You can see through their stage makeup. You can see behind the mask. You can understand that, okay, the costume that they're wearing doesn't fit quite right. And number one, again, is that their words and their actions don't match. And here's why that's so easy to detect. And I wish I had known this principle years ago. Now, I'm pushing 70 years old. And so, over the decades, I've learned a thing or two, maybe more than a thing or two, and I'm just kind of sharing with you some of the things that I wish I had known, even in my 50s. Things I wish I would have known even before that. That's why we do these videos. That's why we're doing this YouTube channel. So what we learn is this. Empathy is a mindset. It is something that is, what would we call it? We would call it, it's autopilot. Just your way of thinking. Somebody who is empathetic, they are empathetic all the time. You really have to throw them a curveball to get them to change their mind. Now, with a narcissist who is pretending to be empathetic, it is relatively easy for him to slip out of that act. The metaphor that I love to use is the dancing dog. You've heard me say this before. You take a little dog, you teach it, or big dog. You take the dog and teach him how to dance. Put on a little costume on the dog. Maybe it's a dress. Isn't that funny? Isn't that cute? Yeah, the dog is talented. You've trained him well, but then a squirrel runs by, and guess what? He's no longer a dancing dog. He's just a dog. And he always has been. The whole thing was just an act. It was amusing, but with a narcissist, it's not amusing. And there are those squirrels that will run by him. Again, we're talking about a metaphor, not a literal squirrel runs past a narcissist. But there are those things that come into his life, and suddenly his actions or her actions no longer match his pretense, his words, the things that he is pretending to be. Number two is this. They tend to find flaws in others. They have to, because they just have to, because they are dependent on ego-boosting supply. And one of the ways they get that supply is by comparing themselves to others and expressing their superiority. And how do they do that? Well, they belittle other people, find flaws in them, Everyone does that to some degree, and sometimes it's actually a good thing. There are times that I make errors in grammar. Sometimes I make errors in spelling. It is good to have, especially when I do writing. When I wrote my book, I hired 2 editors to be critics. In a sense, I want these people to find the errors so I don't look quite as dumb as I really am. That is a healthy, positive way of kind of being a narcissist. But the narcissist finds flaws and faults that aren't really there, or if they are there, they're eager to point them out, not because they're trying to help the other person, but because they are comparing themselves to that other person, so they will look superior. Look at me compared to this guy, or look at me compared to you. Obviously, I'm not that stupid. I know you spell there, T-H-E-I-R, not T-H-Y'-R-E, at least not in that context. Boy, you are so dumb. You can't make a typo around these people. And again, we're speaking metaphorically, not just a literal typo, but, we have these, quote, typos throughout our lives, little mistakes. Narcissists feed on those because in their distorted way of thinking, they don't make typos, ever. And if they do, well, it's not a typo, did that on purpose. Falls off a bicycle because he can't ride, and, well, I was just testing the bicycle. Number 3 is this. They expect reciprocation. A true empath may at times expect to be paid for his efforts. So let's say that you're an empath. And I'm assuming that you are. And because you are an empath, you choose a profession that matches your personality. You may be somebody who works, what do they call those people? That work on ambulances, the EMT, yeah. Emergency medical technician. Okay, those are empaths. Those are people who care about other people. They probably would not be holding down that job if they didn't. Well, they're getting paid for it, and that's okay. Same thing with teachers. Now, I know some teachers, because I went to school, I know there are some teachers who are not empaths. With very few exceptions, they should not be teachers. I get it. Teachers have to be firm. Sometimes they have to be very firm, stern. It depends on what school they're teaching in, or they will be disrespected. But the ultimate goal is not to be a bully and mean to the kids. The ultimate goal of the teacher in a school is to help the kids. And sometimes you got to be tough on them to get them to pay attention. That's not what we're talking about here. What we're talking about here is the bully, the narcissist is not a teacher because he cares about you or she cares about you. She is teaching you or he is teaching you. They see themselves as teachers. Their role in life, not in school, but in life in general. Their purpose is to instruct others that they're doing it wrong. And when you see these people who are always expecting reciprocation for everything they do, I helped you out. So you need to pay me, or you need to give me a place to live, or you need to give me a ride here and there. And I have helped out so many narcissists who are just taking advantage of me. And they would have the pretense of thinking that somehow I owed them. Well, what did they give me? What did they do for me that I owed them? Well, they pretended to be my friend, and that was pretty much it. That was it. And because they have so enhanced my life by the virtue of their very presence, that somehow I owed them something. That's the way these people think. Number 4 is what I call subtle boasting. What narcissists love to do, at least in my experience, is they love to cast themselves. Now I'm thinking of an actor on a stage or maybe on a movie set. So they're casting themselves in the role of the beloved one. Let's think of a TV show. Let's go back to 1960s. Do you remember the TV show, the Andy Griffith Show? Who was the beloved one? The one that everybody just loved in that TV show. Do you remember? Well, you'd have several options, but I would say probably Aunt B. Yeah, there's a sweet little old lady. I'm trying to think of Aunt B's real name. I think it was Frances Bolivar, something like that. Have you ever wondered what Frances the actor was like? Was she anything at all like Aunt B? Well, the only way to tell is to get her off stage, see her when she's not wearing her stage makeup and her little costume that she was always wearing. Same thing with, who else was on that show? Jim Neighbors, remember him? Yeah, I love that character. What a cool guy. Just, down home, wears hat funny, talk funny. Do you think he was the same guy off stage that he was on stage? Well, it turns out that Jim Neighbors, from what I've heard, was a highly intelligent individual. And he was a very successful businessman. They said that everything he touched turned into gold. He just had it. That's not the character that we saw on the Andy Griffith Show. And you can think of any character, any show. Same principle applies. But what is happening is life is a stage. The narcissist is the central character because he cast himself that way. And as the central character, he is the beloved one. We can go back further if you want to. You want to go back to the show Father Knows Best? I think that is even before my time. I remember seeing reruns. I can't go back that far. But that's the role that the narcissist cast himself in. But the problem is they can't stay in that role all the time. It will slip. So how do you tell? How do you unmask a covert narcissist? Well, you got to watch for those subtleties. You got to watch out where, okay, this is not the person that I thought I knew. And sometimes it's hard to detect because they are good at staying in character. But if you watch for it, you will see it, and they are very careful to hide it. I had a good dear friend, put that in quotes, who turns out had a jail record. He had been sued multiple times. He had been prosecuted multiple times. I didn't even know it. I had no idea because he was so good at hiding what was not true to his character. So I call that subtle boasting. I am the center character. I'm just going to act it out. I'm not going to say that I'm important. You know, speaking as the narcissist, I'm not going to say that I am the beloved one. I'm not going to say that I am like Father Knows Best. I know best. But they act it out. That is the personality, the persona that they put forward. Number 5 is this. If you find yourself walking on eggshells, do you say egg or egg? I grew up saying egg, but now I say egg because I've been taught better, but I don't care. You find yourself walking on eggshells or eggshells, whichever you prefer, around a narcissist because you are very careful that what you say or do may offend this person or may tick them off. Okay, this is where we get out the mirror and look at ourselves, because sometimes we find ourselves putting, at least I do, putting people in that position. The people have to be very careful the way they behave around me, what they say, because one wrong word and it could offend me. So in that sense, I find myself being kind of a vulnerable narcissist, but the difference is the narcissist never admits that he has the flaw. Because he's perfect, or she's perfect, whatever it is. So if you feel that you always have to be very, very careful around this individual, this central character in the stage of life, chances are you're seeing behind the costume. You're seeing behind the mask. You're seeing the real street clothes this guy wears or this woman wears. Number 6 is this. They like to compare themselves to other empaths. So they see themselves, or they want you to see them, as empaths. Not just as an empath, but this is the super duper empath. I mean, he is the empath of all empaths. How do you know that? I mean, an arrogant empath, is there such a thing? Not really, but there are people who put themselves in that role. These people are called covert narcissists. And so they are playing the role of the empath. But to make sure they are the best empath ever, they find fault in other empaths. They see other people who are kind, considerate, and, help other people and are loving. And they find flaws in them. Because there can be no other empath more empathetic than them. They fail to see the hypocrisy in that, but you can see it if you're paying attention. That is one of the ways you are able to unmask the narcissist. And often, when you go through these 7 observations, the narcissist often doesn't know that he or she has even been unmasked. They don't know it. I start to go out the door sometimes and my hair is messy, and my wife will stop and say, you got this hair sticking up in the back of your head, or whatever. Maybe my shirt is buttoned wrong or something. And I don't even know it. Everyone else can see it, just not me. But, so I need to correct it. Well, a narcissist is kind of the same way. Their mask flips, and they don't know it. They don't realize that you are seeing their wardrobe malfunction. Number 7 is they are self-focused. Everything is about them. When they are kind to people, playing the role of the empath, they're doing it with themselves in mind. It's not readily observable unless you're paying close attention. And you got to watch them all the time. If they are helping somebody, they're buying dinner, hey, let's go out to eat, I'll buy, cool. Nothing wrong with that. That's what an empath would do. Unless they're expecting something in return. You know, I'm expecting reciprocation. It's all about me. I really don't want to hang out with you. I just want to take advantage of you, and it's worth a few bucks for me to take you out to eat. And by the way, why don't you pick up the tip since I'm paying for the bill? You know, they may come across something like that. But their empathy is very shallow, it's very fake, and it's all about them. So that is one way you can see the slip mask. Now, other people may not see those slips in the mask and the costume. They may not notice that the wig is not quite right the way they wore it yesterday. But if you're paying close attention, look at these 7 principles, and there are many more. Then it could save yourself a lot of trouble, and better safe than sorry. Do you see on the screen those 2 rectangle boxes? Those are there for you, because I know a lot of people come to the end of our conversation, they want to keep hanging out. So if you want to keep hanging out, just click one of those boxes and the conversation will continue. And if not, see y'all next time.